Anyway, so as I mentioned before in the slide, there's no real starting point of this product. It really depends on what you want to do with it. So we're starting at kind of a random point, which is really just reporting. So we're looking at Brandeis University. Brandeis University is a customer of ours, 2,500 APs. They're in school right now, or they're not in school right now, so there's not quite as much data, but they do allow us to kind of show off a little bit, so we appreciate them letting us do that. So what we're looking at is reports. This is their areas of focus. So this is some of the areas that they would look at that and they'd say, okay, maybe I need to look at improving this in some way. Areas of excellence, this is comparatively to other organizations. You guys are rock stars, no real reason to put resources here. We're going to look at a few different examples under capacity. Capacity is just like it sounds. What is the capacity of my network services as they sit here? Internet capacity, so client internet congestion. This is something you'll see, kind of a theme throughout the entire system that you'll see here. So we're going to move to client Wi-Fi peak congestion. I use Wi-Fi as an example. I know you guys are not all mobility guys, or maybe none of you, but Wi-Fi does play a really big part in clients having bad experiences. So unfortunately, it's a big part of our software as well, in that you have to look at Wi-Fi. Wired just tends to work a little bit better. But we're again seeing end-to-end. So we are agnostic when it comes wireless versus wired. We see all wired transactions just the same. So this baseline, so this is client peak Wi-Fi congestion over the last 2 months for their entire campus. These blanks that you're seeing are the weekends. When I see a system that would show you peak usage, it would kind of go up and down. You'd see this usage that would go jump up and down. There's no reason to show you the nulls, right? We don't need to show you that over the weekend there was really not many people working on your network and no problems happened. So we're just showing, here's the peak usage, and we show the baseline. So if we hover over this, 0.7%. What that means is 0.7% of the end users on the network faced congestion with Wi-Fi. So that 0.7%, is that good or bad? Well, comparatively to other organizations, Brandeis has a phenomenal Wi-Fi network, right? They're really good. Notice this is a live comparison. These site numbers are other Voyance customers. They are other universities of similar size. I can expand that if I want to say, okay, let's open the criteria up just a little bit. We still see that Brandeis has a really great Wi-Fi network, and that's probably not a place they're going to spend much energy or resources at this time. We also are comparing configuration. So there's, especially in Wi-Fi, there's a lot of debate in what's the best configuration. We're learning that. We can see, again, when you observe hundreds of thousands of clients and tens of thousands of access points, we can see comparing configuration. I used to work for Ruckus. Our thing was the fastest Wi-Fi out there, most consistent, fastest Wi-Fi. Voyance will be able to answer that question. Once we get enough data points, which we're not too far from, we could definitively say this Wi-Fi vendor or this AP is the fastest on the market. Because when you get enough data points, you eventually it correlates. You eventually can answer questions like that definitively. I don't know that we will. Maybe we get paid off to. That would be fine. I'm kind of scrolling quickly here just to show you we're comparing a lot of things, including AP models. An AP model is a good example of this bottom client. So this isn't Brandeis. This is the bottom Wi-Fi network in universities. Has a significant number of connections on older access points. AP 105s from Aruba is 25% of the connections, not of the APs, but of the connections. So you can use this to correlate purchasing decisions. You can say, well, this other customer is running some F5 network, or they're running all this really cool stuff, and they have this performance because of it. So you can actually use Voyance to help you say, here's why we need to do things. And you can also use it to prove that something you've done, whether it's just your value as a person, as a network engineer, or the value of a product you wanted to purchase, it will show you the results of that.
If I'm a customer with Voyance and I know other customers with Voyance, is there a way that instead of showing site 38 and site 22 that we can actually say, you know what, I want to know what you guys have on your network?
It's a great question. Basically, the question becomes, can we be social media for networking?
Yeah, exactly.
As someone put it in the last field day, can we be Tinder for networking? I don't understand a network hookup, but basically, yes, that is possible. And we've had we've had a fair number of people ask for it. I don't know where it's on the roadmap, if it is on the roadmap, but as far as the idea of friending someone, where you could say, Brandeis could go to Northwestern and say, hey, look, we're okay showing each other's data. Let's check a box to do that. I can't speak to what engineering would do, but absolutely we can do that. And it's the data point that you asked that question.
Well, I deal with a lot of organizations where the technology leaders of those organizations get in rooms like this and talk about technology problems within their industry. And I know that a lot of them share data like this today manually on paper. So to be able to share it live would be useful.
Okay.
What if you have an MSP?
Sorry?
What if I run an MSP and I manage 400 different organizations? Can I pipe it all into a single dashboard and compare my customers?
So the single dashboard is not done today, although correct for all, but
yeah, but we do allow MSP, with single account, you can switch between different sites. So we do have that built in, and those are actually designed for MSPs. So if
right. What I was going to say is I'm going to say this from a marketing side. If you come to me and you say you have 400 sites and you want to sign up with Voyance as an MSP, I'll get you a dashboard. Right? Because we're a startup. So if you have money, we like that. So we're going to build that. Yeah. That's straight up.
We do. In the product today, we do allow you to compare amongst different sites. So if you're MSP, you have 400 different sites. Very similar to compare similar companies. You can compare against different sites in your own organization, or MSP umbrella.
But even a dashboard that would kind of show I had a request the other day. So here's our dashboard. I'm kind of jumping around here. Our dashboard just basically shows these 5 green circles mean there's no P1 or P2 issues right now. So a dashboard that would show all the customers on one screen of an MSP that would show kind of quick statuses. Yes, for the MSP, we can do that. Right now, we don't have an MSP doing that. But as far as from a technical standpoint, I figure you just pipe a bunch of data into an interface, right, Dan?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, that's all you have to do. Did that answer what you were looking for? It's a really long
absolutely.
answer. But, so here I'm going to show you guys. So I was on the Wi-Fi thing, but I'm going to switch over to something we talked about earlier, which is ARP. So we're looking at clients not connecting due to ARP failure. That means a client device requested ARP, the gateway did not respond. So over the last 2 months, you see that here's the baseline. So if I hover over this, you see somewhere between 0.1 and 0.3%. Is that high or is that low? We don't know that until we scroll down. Now we see comparatively, this is where if I was Brandeis, I could say, look, okay, I see that I have a baseline of 0.3. Is that good or bad? Well, now I know that's not really all that great. There is someone that's not quite as, it's a little worse, but generally speaking, this is not strong for us. So what's the first thing? If I'm telling you systemically in your whole network, we have too many ARP, we have ARP failures. We will just a simple scroll down, even though this is a report screen, you can start your troubleshooting process here. Notice this locations. One particular location is contributing to 27% of all the problems that exist with ARP. So this is also, you see this from another screen. So for those of you network ops guys, you probably won't spend a lot of time in reports. Maybe you will. There's another screen you see the same thing presented differently. But this Feldberg 106 is contributing to a high percentage of the problems. If we click on that, now we're looking at the baseline over the last 2 months for just that location. So that baseline, we're baselining not only the whole network, we're baselining every location and every site. Now when we scroll down, we're looking at not an industry comparison, but a benchmarking comparison within your own network. So if you have, again, whatever problem you have, you can see what location, if any, is contributing the most to it.
Matt, you said it was contributing to 27% of the problems. You're saying over what period of time is that? So like, okay, the screen that you were on previous to this. Yeah.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. 27. Yeah. So right there, 27%. Over what period of time is that?
Is that, Dan? Is that based on what I have set here? This last 2 months?
I think that's over the last 24 hours.
Last 24 hours. Okay.
Okay.
I do see that. That sounds right because every time I do a demo, this percentage is slightly different. So I think it's resetting.
It's
You're saying you have these industry benchmarks, so you are updating them like from the customer.
10 minutes? What's a
Industry benchmark.
Yeah, industry. It's live. It's real time.
Okay, but are you collecting the results from your
right.
customers?
We're collecting results, right? Being a cloud-based product, I mean, we are actually gathering all that data from all of our customers.
So you're saying it's a cloud, so you're hosting it, in your place?
Yeah, we're hosting ourselves. I mean, we're hosting AWS.
It has to be like that, or if the customer wants to host and...
I mean, yeah, for some customers, we have a lot of requests where they desire on-prem solution, and that's something that we're actively working on.
We can do that on demand for a customer. It's not our primary business model, but if a large customer comes to us and says, hey, that doesn't really work for us to be in the cloud, will we spin one up for them locally? Yeah, because again, remember the money thing we talked about? Yeah.
Have you guys considered adding more intelligence through things like NetFlow or other technologies like that? Because you could correlate. I'd be interested to see how you could correlate using something like that.
Definitely. I mean, because today we're primarily, collecting data from the Wi-Fi side and the spam port. But if we get into switches and routers, NetFlow it's certainly a very interesting, and important data source for us.
So I want to make sure that we're crystal clear. So the way that you get your data is by captured packets. Is there any other source of data that you're getting other than captured packets?
We also directly pull the wireless controllers via SNMP.
Okay, so your SNMP to wireless controllers and captured packets.
Yes,
Those are your data.
and then we can also, as far as NetFlow goes, we can be a NetFlow consumer when we add that feature.
Okay.
And just to set it, again, so far I've been here 8 months, 10 months now, that when we say, hey, this is on the roadmap and something we're thinking about, the turnaround time is actually quite great. I'm not trying to market to you guys or sell to you guys, but when we say, hey, that's kind of roadmap in the future, some companies that means 2 years. We don't know any idea what we're doing in 2 years. We know really good what we're doing in the next 2 months. So that's just to tell you the speed in which we do things. And we do things on demand. We have some really, really large customers, and they say, hey, we would like to do this, and I've seen changes as fast as a day. Hey, we would like this feature or this added thing, and I've seen these guys turn it out very quickly. So I'm super proud of you guys, man.
So on the on-prem solution option, that's to keep all that collected packet information local. How does that integrate with the cloud part in order to do the comparisons? Do you have some sort of way to make sure that only truly anonymized stuff goes up into the cloud part?
We're truly anonymizing anyway, meaning even though that we're all in the cloud, number one, packet data doesn't go into our cloud. So packet payloads never go to our cloud.
Correct.
So that comparison is truly anonymous with the way we're working within the databases. However, if we have what we would consider a hybrid customer, so they want on-prem collection, which is all we do, but also on-prem cloud computing, could we still do comparisons? Yes. So that comparison data could be sent from the on-prem system up to the cloud, and they could still be integrated into comparison. That is an option. But I just want to make sure you guys understand today, that's not a product that if you call me tomorrow, I'm shipping, right? If you have a customer that would really like that, and it all fits, kind of something we can all mesh with, that's something we can do. But as far as engineering effort, again, 100% of our customers right now are all off-prem, they're all in cloud, and they're happy with that.
Now, when you say payloads are not put into the cloud, again, you mean let's say you go as deep as capturing HTTP packets. You're saying the payload of the request is not submitted, but the header of that request.
Yeah, I mean, we would collect
Stored in your cloud.
Yeah, I mean, there are important performance metrics like what's the HTTP response time, those or any kind of HTTP error status codes. Those are collected, and we would send those to the cloud.
Okay, so you're not actually storing the header metadata.
No, we are not.
So two metrics that I think will help kind of almost solidify that. The hard drive space we require on the VM is like 20 gigs, right? So we're not storing locally. And then, as I mentioned before, of every 1 gigabit per second we're processing, only 500K goes to the cloud.
Right, your concern is the performance metrics, not necessarily
We're not snooping. We're not.
You do edge computation, basically. You perform computation of those metrics at that endpoint, and then you only submit those metrics.
That's correct.
Right. And that's for efficiency's sake. Otherwise, if I said, hey, look, I need 2 gigs of your WAN, I mean, we're not going to get any customers.
So is it anonymized to the level of like no internal IPs are stored in the cloud?
That's an option. I mean, for a lot of help desk, if we don't send any information to the cloud, then it's very hard for them to troubleshoot.
So
right?
let's,
like usernames or.
So let's define anonymization real quick. What your customer sends to our cloud is not anonymized, right? Usernames are in there, MAC addresses, IPs, host names, that all goes to our cloud. But that is contained within that customer. Now we pull out metrics of those things. All right, so it's not GT Hill's medical records. It's the fact that he weighs, this and it has this blood pressure. Some human with these demographics has these stats. That gets compared to each other, right? That's the anonymous comparison. But we, every single one of our customers, I think everything that IP, hostname, everything is going to the cloud because it would really kind of hamper the system, handcuff the system otherwise. So here's what we're looking at here. This is called our incident screen. So I went from the reports just to kind of give you a quick overview of that. This is the incidents. Again, this is our network operations guys spend most of their time sitting here. This shows you we're showing high priority incidents over the last few weeks. We're not filtering that. So what this is what are the issues I need to solve proactively right now? These are different levels of priority. Priority is set, again, remember, based on baseline. I'm going to use radius as an example for that. So P3 level issue, clients cannot connect due to radius. This can be wired or wireless. So if you're doing .1x on the wired side, again, we see this. We will differentiate it. Outlying subgroups. This is a very quick and easy way to see, is there any one thing that we have noticed, whether it's a server, whether it's a location, that is contributing most to this issue. In this case, we're saying the soccer field has 10% of these problems. Is that systemic? Probably not, right? But we're looking at this and saying, okay, there's a little bit higher number here. I can actually tell you why I think the soccer field is this way. Because people are out there that do not have accounts, that are out there watching games, and they're probably trying to enter credentials, right? And those are going to show up as failed auths. Radius servers, if one particular radius server was, really performing poorly from response times, you'll see that here. This percentage would be high. In this case, there's no major outlier that you need to know about. But this is the baseline. So I'm going to try to, I guess that's an expanding. So your baseline of this customer is 0.8%. That means 0.8% of all their customers on radius face congestion. You see this light, you can't see it barely on the projector. There's this light blue bar right here. This light blue bar is accepted deviation. So you can again expand that or contract it depending on how much you care about that service. But today, the reason on July 28th, the reason that this was flagged as a P3 level issue is because double the number of people, percentage of people had a problem, 1.5%. So now we want to say, okay, let's explore that issue. So we scroll down. The root cause of that issue is users aren't authorized. Now, one thing to note, see this 100% right here? That 100% is because everyone is having the same problem. Wi-Fi is a great example of Wi-Fi performance is poor. You're going to have 4 or 5 different reasons for that problem based on location. So we would say 70% here, 30%, et cetera, whatever that adds up to 100. So 100% of these customers are all having the same problem. Their users aren't authorized. Check for the correct username and password. Everyone basically is fat fingering their username and password. When students come back, this thing is going to go whack. Right? The percentage is going to go way high, but it will all show up here as, again, you're going to get an alert. Brandeis and every university customer we have will probably get an alert for radius, but they go right here and they say, okay, we don't have any problems internally. It's just people are typing their username and password incorrectly. And then we can predict how many help desk calls we're going to get on that. So here's everybody that's having this issue. This is by username or by device. And then just some statistics on radius servers.
So how can I filter that? Like, how do I make sure I'm not getting too much noise coming through? Because it seems like there could be a lot of alerts or concerns getting sent up to me that maybe I don't care about all of them.
You could. I would say that interestingly, because of the way we baseline, if the baseline is true, X percentage have a problem with DNS or DHCP, I think that once you use the system, you wouldn't filter. Yeah. And I say that because
if you're saying if you guys percolate it to the top because of the way you do the baseline,
something
I
off.
care.
Yeah, I mean, that one thing, again, when you manually type in an SLA, I mean, a network monitoring system, which we're not trying to be that, we're an analytics software, is that you have to tune it, right? And it takes forever. and you get this trust factor. You have to keep saying, no, that's not a real issue. Ours, with a reasonable amount of accuracy, I mean, it's maybe bold, but I would say 90+% accuracy. If this thing alerts you and a priority level goes up, something is happening. Maybe your students drank too much over the weekend and they came back and can't remember their password, but that is something that the system will see.
Yeah.
So is that your? So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so I want to, we do allow, you can disable certain alerts. So if you're a Radius guy and you're not interested in DNS or DHCP, you can configure for yourself, say, hey, don't send me alerts. Or you can also adjust the priorities. So maybe you don't have to say that, hey, if there's a big deviation for Radius, because users fat finger their passwords, don't make that into a P2, make it into a P4. And I'm not going to subscribe to any P4 incidents.
Well,
so those type of tuning is available.
Yeah, so I'm trying to understand the differentiator, because there are tools today that do this, like you said, network analytic or monitoring tools, and that's been a significant problem we've had, is tuning that and filtering out the false positives. There's so much noise happening, and it's incidents that we know we get reported on from up-down status. Yes, it's good enough for us to know, but yeah, that's. So is one of your differentiators the way that you do the baselining, and then the way that the results because of that baselining, is that one of the key differentiators?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of false positives results from thresholds, because a lot of monitoring tools, it's someone has to configure that threshold, and I mean, how do you even configure it? Because each environment is different, right? And every network has their own thresholds, and no one can. There's no other product that can say, hey, what's the correct threshold? So what our product does, it learns about your own network, right? So that over time, we only send you alerts if something significantly deviates from your own baseline. But at the same time, you want to compare, how do you truly say, am I doing good? I mean, are there any other people that, performs better than me in a similar network? That's why we provide you the cross-company comparison.
Can you give us an idea of scale? How big of networks are you in today?
So you want to throw at it?
Yeah. So there are networks of
Hundreds of
10,000,
thousands
like 10,000 access points. Some of our universities are.
50,000+ users.
50+. Yeah.
And that is really scale for us. Is ridiculously marketing as this sounds. Is we just keep spinning up servers in AWS.
Yeah.
So I mean, as we add customers, which we're adding almost daily now, it's just making sure we have capacity sitting there. But
what was the sell to the big customers? Why did they say, I want Nyansa, and they brought it in-house and made the commitment to make it go?
I mean, again, it's threefold. It's the help desk side. So a help desk call, I can do this. So I mean, I can do this as an example. I have a problem with a device or an end user. I type in that device, and I can instantly know whether I should escalate this or not. I mean, that right now, that's huge, right? Whether this is a complicated Wi-Fi problem or what it is, from the help desk level, I can get someone off the phone really fast, and I can be able to diagnose their problem very, very quickly. They don't have to give me any other information.
So
network ops, we're seeing problems that you wouldn't have seen before, and we're telling you the solution for it. But again, this is end user facing. That's one of the things that I'm not familiar with when you comparing us to network monitoring. I don't know of another monitoring system that is going to tell you the health of the performance of an end user.
Well, it's starting to crystallize, man. So this is focused on high density user environments, and not so much a mix of a big data. So the other question I have is there a lot of bandwidth concerns sending this much analytic data to your SaaS offering?
So as I mentioned before, for about every gigabit that we process locally, so let's say you have 10 gigs, right? You have 10 gigs of flowed data through your Gigamon, Arista, whatever it is. We're going to send 5 megs up. That's all it takes. So it's super, super efficient. Every single gigabit per second, it's about 500K. Technically, that's a little high. We're shooting a little high.
I missed that earlier. Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit lower. But again, of all the customers we've had, no one has said, hey, look, you're affecting my WAN. That's the reason for the crawler on site, is because that crawler just is chewing a lot of data locally and then making it nice and clean up.
Okay.
When you say industry benchmark, so basically it is what you have learned over time, your system, and you're taking an average of that?
We're comparing customer to customer. Okay. So if I go back to this report screen, I'm actually going to look at, so again, if I do Wi-Fi, This is singular customer, meaning this is me, I'm in purple. This is individual customers. So this is an industry benchmark of, again, by vertical, by Wi-Fi manufacturer, because we're looking at Wi-Fi here, and by size. So when we say industry, none of this is averaged right here. This is me compared to other live customers.
But maybe the other live customers are not good, are also poor. So, for example, then you will say you are better if the other results are poor?
Yeah, but again, data is everything. That the more data you get, the more it is. It tells the truth,
This
right?
is what I'm saying. You're learning over time, basically, more accurate.
Yeah, in a year, this will have 20 different comparisons. Today, it's got 5 or 6.
I mean, we only pick. I mean, there's a lot more companies, but we pick a representative set.
Right.
I mean, it's impossible to show for visualize if I put 100 companies here, right?
Okay.
No, absolutely, we're going to get better over time.
Okay.
But today, even just the sheer ability to be able to do what you're doing here, this is, oddly enough, this is what most value people see. I would say the number one comment we get is, I want to compare myself to others. We've even gone as far as people have wanted to compete with each other. We've had networks say, hey, is this a customer? I want to be able to compete with them. So we only have a few minutes left. The sales pitch is this. You guys are asking phenomenal questions. This system is, I think we're talking, you said it's starting to crystallize. It's very different. What we hope, our goal is that we like you guys writing about it. You guys are influencers in the market. But our end result is, if you don't believe us, just try it. We have basically, like any good startup, zero obligation. Do a POC. We will ship you a crawler. So that way you don't have to do any difficulty with trying to work with VM. You spin it up, you span tap monitor, again, less than an hour, and then you look at it and you see. Use it for 30, 45 days, and let us know what you think. Because
You said you're comparing to a competitor also. So are you giving competitor data?
No, sorry.
Okay.
What I meant by competitor, I was talking about a university.
Okay.
So I live in Arkansas, so I had an SEC customer say, I want to see every other SEC network, because I want to beat them. Not only do I want to beat them in football and basketball, I want to beat them on their network.
No, but do you give
That's
the
what I meant.
customer name? Basically?
No.
Yeah.
Never give customer name. In fact, that was a feature request, just to be able to, friend that. No. And even our metrics that we show, you can't even really decipher who it is.
Yeah, it's because of security reasons,
No, right. I mean, you can't figure that out. So what's the...
One last demo I'd like to see on this live data is finding a wireless problem and seeing how the tool troubleshoots that. Because for this particular example of university, that's a huge challenge. I know a lot of clients will contact the help desk and say, I'm having problems using the internet.
Yeah, how do I find the client that's being used by Steele Johnson?
Okay.
The user.
So we would type that in, if it was a real person. So I'm doing that. I'm typing in a username called LD Plant. Okay. I'm typing this as a LD Plant. I know this particular device. So I'm going to look at this. I'm looking at the last 15 days. So number one of the problems that is something to consider is, have you ever had someone say, hey, look, I had a problem 5 days ago? Right, I was in the lunchroom, I had a problem 5 days ago.
Yeah.
You can search by user, so if I can set the date and time listed right here, I can set the date and time of whatever they told me they had their issue, and I will see only what they did during that time. I will see only those transactions. Okay, so you said you want to see Wi-Fi performance. Sorry, Tom, I know we're going over here. So this is client experience, poor Wi-Fi performance, but notice the root cause. Interference near the client. What this is saying is that we have, again, looked at every piece of data that we get. And what this is telling us is it's not an access point problem. It's not an infrastructure problem. There's something going on with this client. Why? Because if we show you in charts, it's going to take a moment to load since we're looking at 15 days worth here. But what we'll see is we can compare Wi-Fi versus everything else that's happened. So this is the use case. So SNR is high. AP noise floor is low, but retries are off the chain. But we can also look at, again, I don't have time, I won't take all the time to show it. You can see what's on that access point. I see 10 clients are rock solid, they're doing great, but we have 3 outliers that aren't. The AP is great. The AP is doing exactly what it's supposed to do, but because of the data correlation, we're saying this client has an issue. So if this user called in, I'm a help desk, in 30 seconds, I know I can't fix this problem. right? But I can escalate it to the right Wi-Fi team to go fix that problem.
And typically, what the help desk will do is always escalate any I can't connect
Right,
issue.
right, I can't
So
connect.
you actually have like engineers having to troubleshoot each and every single ticket.
Right, and
So this is
3 or 4 days later when they get it, and
Meantime to innocence.
yeah.